what if I told you that faith isn't enough? Today on The Explainer, we're digging into a theological argument that pretty much flips the script on forgiveness being the end-all be-all. It suggests there's a much deeper, way more demanding path to real spiritual authority. So let's just dive right in. So our source material just throws this out there, right at the beginning. It's a statement that really pushes back on the idea that faith is this magic key that unlocks every door. The argument is, yeah, faith is crucial, but it's just one tool. And for some of the biggest things coming your way, it might not even be the right one. Okay, so what's the big deal? Is there actually a problem with forgiveness? Well, according to this perspective, if you focus only on God's forgiveness, you're getting a really incomplete picture. And worse, it could be creating some serious spiritual blind spots. Now look, the source is clear. For so many of us, our relationship with God is built on His benevolence, His grace, His mercy, His forgiveness. That's the starting line. And for a lot of people, it's the finish line too. It's the whole picture. But here's where it gets interesting. The source calls that view a shallow knowledge. It's just the tip of the iceberg. What's underneath the water is this deeper knowledge that goes way beyond God's kindness and right into the territory of His judgments. And this is absolutely the key takeaway. According to this teaching, just because you're forgiven for something doesn't mean you get to escape the consequences. This shallow knowledge that's focused only on mercy completely misses that other half of the equation. So if you're in the shallow end, how do you get to the deep end? Well, the source material actually lays out a very specific roadmap, a kind of step-by-step spiritual journey. Let's take a look. And here it is, the whole path mapped out. It starts in a place we all know: mercy, love, and grace. Familiar territory, right? But then the path takes a pretty sharp turn into much tougher terrain. You move into righteousness, the fear of the Lord, and finally, the knowledge of the holy. So you can see this journey is basically split right down the middle into two different realms. Those first three steps, that's the benevolence realm. That's where faith, as we usually think of it, does its work. But if you want real spiritual authority, the source says you have to cross the border into the judgment realm. And that starts with righteousness. And this idea is pretty startling. It's saying that in these higher realms, the rules of the game totally change. Forgiveness isn't just a given. Your actions have direct, unavoidable consequences, what it calls recompense. Even if you're technically forgiven, the standards are just way, way higher. So what happens when people start moving along this path? Well, this whole progression creates a fundamental split. It results in two totally different kinds of believers, which the source calls servants and sons. And the difference between them is like night and day. On one side, you've got the servant, who's kind of like a child. They live in that world of forgiveness, but they don't have any real spiritual power. But on the other side is the son, the heir. They operate in righteousness, and because of that, they're the ones who are actually trusted with the powers of the kingdom. And the stakes here are, well, they're astronomical. This isn't just about how effective you are here on earth. It's about your eternal reward. I mean, look at this. The servant might get into the kingdom, but they're like a stranger living in the suburbs, outside the capital city of Zion. The sons, on the other hand, are in Zion with Jesus. And yet this, they inherit and govern nations. That is a massive difference. Okay, so we've got this journey, we've got these two types of believers, but what's the bigger system that all of this is operating in? Well, this entire framework of knowledge and consequence fits into a huge, overarching spiritual structure. And the key number is 12. The source structures all of spiritual reality into what it calls the 12 orders of the spirit realm. You could almost think of them as the 12 fundamental laws of spiritual physics that govern how everything works. And here they are. I mean, this list covers everything. You've got the legalistic realm, the realm of secrets, the realm of thrones, life and death. It goes all the way up to the realm of eternity and spirits. And each of these isn't just a concept. It's a whole different dimension with its own rules and its own required level of authority to even function in it. I know this can sound pretty abstract, so let's just grab the first one to make it more concrete. The legalistic realm. What does that actually mean? Well, in this realm, your words have serious weight. They aren't just sounds you make, they are binding legal statements. The source gives the example that every single idle word you speak will be accounted for, because in this dimension, your words create a permanent legal record. So when you put all of this together, it really reframes the entire purpose of life for a believer, doesn't it? It leaves us with this one massive question to chew on. Is your faith really about finding comfort and forgiveness in this life? Or is this life a rigorous, intense training ground for a position of real authority and governance in the world to come? A pretty challenging thought to end on.